Welcome back, my fellow mobile gamers of YouTube. I've got some great games lined up for us today, and if you haven't watched it yet, I also played and ranked every single Netflix game last week. Now, one of the games coming up later today is a neat tower defense strategy game inspired by Warcraft. But I wanted to kick us off this week with something absolutely massive: the early access survival MMORPG, Chimeraland. This is an open-world sandbox game by the Tencent-owned PUBG mobile publisher Level Infinite, and it's currently in regional beta testing. With a huge world and lots of ancient monsters to fight, the game attempts to recreate a Monster Hunter-like combat experience on mobile, and I think in many ways it does actually get decently close to achieving that goal. Add to that a player-driven economy where we collect resources, trade with other players, capture monsters, build a home, and craft everything from potions to equipment, and you've got a game that has got a lot of things going for it. Not to mention that there's a bunch of co-op content and there are no auto systems. Combat is where the game starts to shine, but also where its weaknesses start to show, because the monsters in this game are absolutely huge and they're terrifyingly fun to discover in-game, but we can only use a standard attack for the first many hours of gameplay, making combat somewhat dull and repetitive. And frankly, the only redeeming factor here is that there is a large array of unique weapon types to play around with, even in the beginning of the game. Unfortunately though, the game is currently just too rough around the edges. For example, the UI is full of convoluted menus, and the first play experience isn't as great as I'd expect it to be. Once you really get into the game and start to understand these core mechanics, things do definitely improve a bit at least, but even then, the clunky enemy animations make the game feel just somewhat rushed, to be honest. Now, as for the monetization of the game, that happens through in-app purchases for cosmetic items, and then lots of items that make us stronger as well. This does of course provide a pay-to-win experience for paying players, but as a primarily single-player and co-op focused game, I would definitely argue that free players can still easily enjoy Chimeraland. It requires online access, takes up a whopping 6.2 GB of space, and despite the flaws, what it does well really works, which the character customization and light survival aspects are good examples of, so there is a chance that it could turn out great by the time it globally launches. Next up is a game called Picross, which is a unique music rhythm game with lots of techno and electronic style songs, a high skill ceiling, and surprisingly, no ads or in-app purchases. Just like in Demo 2, which I also covered recently here on YouTube, Picross uses a laneless system, which means that the notes can drop from any position instead of having to adhere to specific lanes like in a game such as Guitar Hero. Just like in most other music rhythm games, when these notes then reach the white line at the bottom of the screen, called the judgment line in this game, we then have to tap, swipe, or hold depending on the type of note to score as many points as possible. But here's the thing though, what truly sets Picross apart from every single other music rhythm game I've ever played at least, is that this judgment line can then move around, it can tilt, or it can even duplicate itself so that we have to tap the same note multiple times. This is a very unique mechanic, but I gotta be honest, it also feels slightly gimmicky, and it is at times almost frustrating, but it does make the gameplay more challenging, which some players might really appreciate. Now, in terms of the music library in this game, there's actually a surprisingly large number of songs to play, many of which can be played in any order as well, with the rest unlocking as we progress in the game. And while most of these songs admittedly fall into just a few genres and unfortunately vary greatly in quality, it is nice to have so many of them available. What the game lags behind most other music rhythm games though is in its graphical details, because while I do appreciate the simplistic UI it's got going for it, the backgrounds that are shown when we play a song consist of simple and highly blurred images that add nothing to the experience. The game also, unfortunately, doesn't utilize the full width of most modern phones, although this does have the advantage of making the game slightly easier since there's less area to move our fingers around on. So it's sort of a give and take thing there. But the best part about this game, of course, is that there's no monetization at all, which makes the free-to-play experience just perfect. It can be played offline, takes up 980 MB of space, and it is definitely worth taking for a spin for any fan of music rhythm games. And now it is tower defense time, because Maze Defenders is a strategy tower defense indie game with 15 unique and highly customizable towers and a Warcraft-inspired system where we build our own mazes using walls and towers. Now, before we even start a level in this game, we select 6 towers to take with us into that level, a decision often impacted by the level's modifiers that give advantages to certain types of towers. And of course, in true tower defense style, once we then start the level, we deploy and upgrade these towers using gold gained from killing the hordes of enemies rushing through our mazes. After we then, hopefully, win a level, we gain some XP for our towers, and they may also level up, and we receive various resources used to buy runes and talent tree upgrades for each tower, and then equipment for our character called a builder. And this is also where the game really starts to shine in my opinion, because its astonishing amount of customization options allow for a high level of strategic freedom. Not only can we equip runes to give a tower special powers, like being able to slow down enemies, but we can also pick between 5 different targeting modes for each tower, and also prioritize which talents to buy first. Meanwhile, the loot is equipped to improve our builder, and with 5 distinct character classes to unlock, each with unique stats and spells we can trigger during combat to help our towers, there's no lack of tactical decisions to be made. And maybe best of all, the progression is nicely paced, and the leaderboards, the quests, and the special ranked game modes where we compete against other players' times for special rewards provide plenty of content to dive into. Maze Defenders monetizes through incentivized ads, a $1 in-app purchase to remove these advertisements, and then in-app purchases up to $2.99 to acquire more of the gems we also earn through gameplay. The game can be played offline, it takes up 317 megabytes of space, it's very free-to-play friendly, and since it's still in beta, there's also a good chance that we'll see more neat features added over time, making this an easy recommendation. It's also my favorite game of the week, by the way, but I think some of you are absolutely gonna love Picross as well, so please do let me know and let's have a discussion down in the comment section what you think about these games. Do you agree or disagree with what I think about them? We can have a conversation about that down there, and then thank you so much for using Mini Review to find awesome new mobile games. Thanks for supporting over on Patreon. Thank you for watching till the end of this video, and until next time, just keep gaming, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys around.